What's up, yo? Welcome to a live episode of Catch the Craze Podcast. I'm your host with the most, the Crazy Man Vera, and I am flying this ship Dolo, and we're going to have a special guest today. But before we do, a word from our sponsor, Forbidden.
He challenged his father because of a curse on his people, betraying his family in search of the truth, awakening the evil behind the curse. Now they must race to save their people or die trying.
Hi, I'm Samuel.
We are the only show for independents all around, giving you a platform to spread your word all over town. Catch the Craze is the place to promote to your fans with the dream of Medina and Sam the Crazy Man. Subscribe to our show and never miss an episode. It's time to get your mans, listen to us on the go. Updated every week, we've never missed a day. Join the squad, come on in. It's time to catch the Craze. If you are an independent, catch the Craze. Making moves on your own, catch the Craze. On your grind in the streets, catch the Craze. Join the movement, catch the Craze.
Yeah, George, we did it again. Come on now. You know you want to do it. Catch the Craze. Welcome to Catch the Craze Podcast. I'm your host with the most, the Crazy Man Vera, and I am with me. So welcome to another episode of Catch the Craze. We're going to have a special guest on tonight. We are talking to, comics, Reyna, and she has a Kickstarter campaign that's running right now called Kinktober, and we're going to be talking to her about that campaign. It's very kinky and very unique approach to illustration. I thought it was pretty cool, and so we're going to talk to her a little bit. But in the meantime, let's talk about Forbidden. So last night, if you missed our live launch, we launched Forbidden live to a live audience, and just want to say thank you to everybody who backed Forbidden on Kickstarter, because we met our goal in 14 hours on Kickstarter. Indiegogo, we're 17% of the way. And so I'm hoping that we're able to make 100 backers either combined or on Kickstarter, whichever comes first. And so I'm hoping that some of you come out and back today and help spread the word and get Forbidden. This is what happens when I'm tweeting. Promoting the show simultaneously as we're doing this. Normally George is talking and I'm typing in the background. So here it is. Anyway, so let me just pull that up for you real quick, see, so you can get a look at it. And while we're talking and shooting the breeze. So here's Forbidden. So we have 17 backers, and I'm hoping to unlock the first stretch goal, which starts at 50 backers. And that basically, that stretch goal, if I go down and I scroll down, it's this piece right here. Here it is. So you'll get this, on the screen, you'll get that digital print of David Hunter and the Creepers that I illustrated. And if we get to 75 backers, you'll get this digital print of Tragedy and Forbidden crossover pinup that I illustrated as well. So both are art by me. And if we get to 100 backers, then everybody, all physical backers, will get the physical prints of both pinups. And basically, that's what we're trying to do. So if you picked up Forbidden, then you know 20 years ago, back in 2006, when I first released Forbidden, I only released 2 issues. 0 and 1. And then I came back into the game with 0 and 1. No one's read anything beyond that point. So this is your first opportunity to get Forbidden number 2, which is 32 pages. Here's where you're going to learn a lot about Viejo. You're going to learn a lot about the other characters, supporting characters in this series. Here's where you'll figure out how everything links together in this universe. And I'm excited about that. I mean, you in issue 0, you saw Sin challenge his father, get locked up, kill to escape to get to the surface. In issue 2, you saw him having an adverse effect. He was, nauseous. He got to the surface, but he's now missing Arius. Where is she? Viejo finds him. He escapes. Viejo's, he thinks he's crazy, so he goes off on his own into the city. Automatically, he's attacked by henchmen of David Hunter. He gets back. Viejo comes and gets him back, brings him back to his cabin. Now, issue 3, you're going to find out what happens. Who is David Hunter? What is his purpose? Who is Viejo? What's his backstory? You're going to get all that stuff. So that's pretty cool, and it's pretty exciting, and I can't wait to share that with you guys. And I can't wait for you to get your hands on it. But, it's in 2 hours, the first day bundles will end on Kickstarter. So I'm just scrolling right up real quick. So in 2 hours, that first day bundle, the Coaches bundle, is the only time you'll be able to get the variant cover that he illustrated, along with the sticker and the physical print. That's the only time you'll be able to get this 3 combo together is on the first day. After 8:15 p.m. tonight, it's gone. And the trade paperback, the graphic novel. So the first day discount. So right now the graphic novel bundle is at a 25% discount and ends at 8:15 p.m. tonight as well. That's the only time you'll be able to get this at that price, because then it changes. And so those are 2 exciting bundles. John Coates did a great job with that cover, the variant cover, and it was colored by a colorist that I use and I commission that I've used for all of the Cast of Crazies covers. So if you've picked up Cast of Crazies and you like the color work on the covers, this is the same colorist that does that as well. And so this is exciting. I mean, here's some 8 sample pages of it. We also have the same campaign on Indiegogo. There's a difference, though. On Indiegogo, you have an exclusive cover on Indiegogo, and on Kickstarter, you have an exclusive cover. So you have a cover by Aníbal Arroyo on Kickstarter and a cover by Prime Santra on Indiegogo. And there's also another difference. On Indiegogo, the Coaches bundle is a featured bundle. So there's the difference there. So if you say, for instance, you missed the first day bundle, you really wanted that on Kickstarter and only was for 24 hours, you can go to Indiegogo and get that same bundle because it's a feature. Because Indiegogo doesn't have the option of doing a first day with a date hard stop. So that's why that's there. And I wanted to give some nuances. And for instance, in Indiegogo, the first backer goal starts at 25 backers, where here it starts at 50. Because I have a bigger audience on Kickstarter than on Indiegogo. So I'm just trying to entice everybody on the different platforms for that. But yeah, I'm excited about this one. I've worked on it for a long time. I was talking to George about it, about the twists and the turns. And, this campaign will determine whether or not I proceed with another issue or just go straight full force with the full compendium, the big collected edition, which is a 200-page book. But I mean, look at the art by Prime Santra. Again, I found him on DeviantArt. He did a fantastic job. I commissioned him years ago. So I was sitting on the finished illustrations for years before I launched it on Kickstarter. And he was completely paid for out of pocket. So, the great thing about the campaign is that it's ready to go. As soon as the campaign's over, everything goes to the printer. From the printer, it gets packed and it gets shipped to you. So, the only delay would be based on paper, acquiring paper and the postal service. That's it. But the first 2 books were done by Aníbal Arroyo. He did a fantastic job in these first 2 books. Loved his line work on this. Very The way he does hair, the way he does cloaks. I mean, everything was just beautifully done. And then there's, so there's a lot of different perks to this campaign. There's the homage cover to Kingdom Come that I did, because it comes numbered and signed. Only 100 is going to be printed with a certificate of authenticity, so you're able to get that as well. And then you have all the other options, and I'm not going to bore you to death. But if you missed the first 2 campaigns, and you said, you know what, I want those covers. Well, you can get all the cover bundle. So you can get every cover, which includes 2 homage covers with certificates of authenticity. It also includes 2 gold covers and a hollow foil cover. So it's pretty dope. And you have artwork by me, by Anibal, and Prime Santra, and David Quiles on the covers, which is pretty hot. It's pretty exciting. Then you have the retailer special. So retailers, if you're out there, I have bundles for you. Same thing. I put a lot of care into packaging the stuff, especially in the quantities, large quantities. So retailers, there is a special for you. And then, I've had some inquiries about the commissions, and I'll do any illustration as long as it's not like crazy obscene, but I'll do any illustration for you, and it's 3 characters. So if you want a digital commission, then it's right there on the screen. It's $100 for a digital commission, black and white. That's it, and you get it digitally. And if you want a physical 11 by 17, it'll come framed. That's $350. That means you get the original art. So that's also cool. So you can do that as well. But also, here is original art that's available up for grabs. So here's the piece that I did, the crossover piece for Forbidden and Tragedy, the crossover. So that's pretty dope. And then there's the Anibal Arroyo penciled 11 by 17 framed art. That's beautifully done, beautifully rendered. I mean, just gorgeous. That's available. And then you have the David Quiles piece, which is fantastic. It is. I am surprised it wasn't snatched up by now. I mean, this thing is just beautiful. Then you have the other cover by Anibal Arroyo, which is just fantastic. So, so if you haven't done so already, then we have the stretch goals. When we get to $1,000, they start there. And a lot of great incentives. And then there's the team. And you can also check out Philip Russ's Tragedy, which is going on right now. We did a simultaneous launch November 1st, and he's killing it on it. So, so we have our guest coming on. Her name is April Grady Reyna, and she'll be coming on in a little bit. And she is freelance illustrator, comic artist, has been slinging art professionally for the past decade. She has a BFA graduate from Arizona State University. April draws indie comics, has been a published cover artist, illustrated children's books, and is a sketch card artist. She has worked with several companies, including but not limited to Dynamite, Coffin Comics, BDI, Upper Deck, RR Parks, etc. And you can find her on social media, Instagram at Reyna_art and Facebook at Reyna.art. So we'll be talking to her about her campaign, which is called Kinktober. And it's very kinky. So that's why I have the mature audience sign up on the screen. Parental advisory in effect. So although some of the body parts are covered on the campaign, it is adult. So you have things like squeakasm. And so Kinktober is a daily drawing challenge from October 1st to the 31st. Each day we will have a themed, illustrated, and fantastical creatures. Each page will be hand-drawn and colored. All images will be compiled into a saddle-stitch book. This book will be in full color and at least 31 pages, with the potential for extra pages of art to be added. Fantastical creatures will range from mermaids, vampires, fairies, centaurs, perhaps a few humans, etc. This book will feature mature content and is for adults only. Adults only. So that's coming down the pike, and you have what? So here are the themes for each illustration: boot worship, shower, bath, bound, upper body, lingerie, fingering. Nice. DP in 1. Spanking and paddling 3. So you get it. I'm not going to read it out loud, but you get it. So she's already unlocked the first stretch goal, which is Squeak Lovers Kit. And then it says some interior art. So again, mature audiences. So parents, if your kid's in the room, have them leave. So you have a bunny. You have some, S&M fetishes. And then you have a cat. Zebra. That looks like a zebra. Yeah. And so you have a bunch of cool looking art. Then you have this squee thing. You know, it's Three's Company. So yeah. So we're gonna be talking to her about that very soon. And again, this is Cast the Craze. We are live with April Reyna. In fact, let me show. So she'll be coming on soon, and then we'll also be coming on live at 8 o'clock. So at 8 o'clock, we're going to be talking to David Wilburn about Plainer Jane, which is killing it on Kickstarter. He launched it today. He's already got 81 backers, already made his goal. He's at 2,574. He's critically acclaimed. If you missed the What's in the Box for Plainer Jane issue number 1, check it out. Really cool concept. Very come from a unique place in your mind when you're creating this world. And he has an interesting background himself. The actual word for what he used to do, we'll be talking to him soon at 8 o'clock. So when we leave this show, join us back at 8 o'clock as well. And so he was, after spending 20 years working as a Guinness World Record-breaking escapologist, sword swallower, and stuntman, look him up, David Straightjacket. He decided to return to his first loves, music and comics. Plainer Jane is his debut. It was originally planned as a one-shot graphic novel, but its world expanded somewhat, and until it made much more sense to release it as a series of standard U.S. comics. It runs 150 pages and will be 7 issues in total. So looking forward to talking to him about his series, and there's his squad that's working on it. Cool. Broken Face Comics is, I guess, the brand. So, yeah, so he's been on Kickstarter, just killing it, which is pretty dope. So I'll have the links also in the summary for that as well. So the Crazy Nintendo Last was postponed this week because, as you know, yesterday, we launched the Forbidden campaign on live. So I had to put it on hold. But the What's in the Box will still air this week, and we also will be live tomorrow. So we have a live show with the crew, and we also have another guest tomorrow. I wish I could tell you, but I dropped that screen, so I can't tell you right now. So we have a full lineup again. So a lot of indies have been reaching out, wanted to come on the show, but are not following instructions. So here's the deal. When you reach out, we're going to tell you to send everything to us via email to contact@castthecraze.com. For some reason, everyone's ignoring the fact that we're saying, please send it here, and they're still sending it on social media. The problem with that is that it takes up a lot of time to go to every different social media platform to try to find your information. So if you want to be on the show, if we don't get it to contact the Cast the Craze, we're not going to move forward because we need to keep everything in the same pipeline in order to be able to have some control over our day-to-day operations. And it takes a lot of time taking that information, compiling it, creating the graphics, putting you on a spreadsheet, getting you in the pipeline, posting the information. So it's when it's there all in one spot, we put you in a guest folder. It's easy to pull it. Boom, done. Enough said. When we're trying to figure out what did this person reach us through, how to, and that's just a little frustrating, especially when we ask for the information and then we never get it as well. That's also frustrating. So please be mindful and respectful and just send us the information, and we'll do our best to highlight you, spotlight you, and get you the word out so that your intended goal is reached when you come on Cast the Craze podcast. And so I don't want to show any samples, but let me see. Did I show you guys? this is, what is this? I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. Yeah. Don't want to see that. Anyway, so we're still waiting for our guest. Should be coming on soon. So with that said, I'm just going to show you the trailer to Forbidden again. Here it is.
He challenged his father because of a curse on his people, betraying his family in search of the truth, awakening the evil behind the curse. Now they must race to save their people or die trying.
Hi, I'm Samuel, and welcome to Forbidden Issue 2, The Hunt, the third campaign, the biggest one yet, 32 pages of action and drama. We have guest artists, variant covers, homage covers, a graphic novel, Volume 1, you can collect the first 3 issues, a crossover pinup between Philip Russ's Tragedy and Forbidden, and so much more. Thank you for supporting this book that I've been working on for 20 years of my life. It is my passion project, and I am happy to share with you. Forbidden. Yeah, that's true. I've been working on it for a long time. I'm excited about it. It's just very nerve-wracking when you're trying to get it into as many hands as possible. You know, the challenges with COVID and events. And, I had like big plans for the return. And, then you have to rethink the strategy. And then moving across country to another state and settling in and trying to still do the same thing, sometimes you start like second guessing yourself, like, but this campaign itself, it's really number one to try to expand the readership and to get into as many of your hands as possible. The other also, the difference in the funding is going to go to the colorist. She's on the last 55 pages of the book. She's colored over 100. Yeah. She had the task of coloring 168 pages. So, and she's been doing a phenomenal job, and she's a full-time student as well. So, Barbara Soroji, and so hats off to her. She's done a fantastic job. I'm very happy with what she's done with it. I was very fortunate to work with Anibal Arroyo over the years, who's going to be our teacher soon. I think he graduates in the spring of 2022. So that's pretty awesome. And, they now got lucky with Primi Santra. I mean, he's done a fantastic job with the book. And I just want you to see exactly what I see. I want you to feel what I feel when I created the story. And I want you to be able to, enjoy the journey with me. And I'm hoping that you do. And I'm hoping that you help me spread the word. And, because I know we can get it to over 100 people's hands. But, it's hard. It's hard. It ain't easy. It's not like back in the days. Back in the days, I had the plan. I had the strategy. I had the formula. Now I'm trying to figure it out. This game is real. And there's a lot of fantastic competition out there. There's artists out there that are just artists and storytellers and writers. I mean, they're just doing a fantastic job. So, how do you get up to the front of the pack? To jog alongside of these other cats. How do you do that? And it's just, the grind. And, balancing the time between illustration and podcasting and marketing and promoting and trying to be a business. Takes a lot of time, guys. And I see guys come and go. And I'm trying not to be that, because I left for 10 years for a real reason. And, coming back, the game just switched up. We went on lockdown. It was like, what the? Come on, man. We can't do that like 8 years ago. So it's just a very interesting time that we're in. The best part of what we do, the best part of what I do is this, talking to a lot of different creators, looking, learning about them, getting their perspective, their journey, just I think that's the best part of it all. So, and I'm looking forward to the next conversation. And we have 2 guests tonight. We have another one tomorrow. Actually, every week is locked in, which is wild. We went from standardized guests to every guest being a Kickstarter campaign. So we would pre-record our shows and would have people in the pipeline for every Friday. And now we just have everybody with campaigns. And unfortunately, we can't accommodate everybody because sometimes they'll wait like the last week of the campaign. Hey, I only got 5 days in my campaign. Can I come on your show? No, sorry. But because we're booked, we don't have that flexibility. I don't have staff, and this big studio where we can say, yeah, we can bring you in. All this stuff, you got to require time and effort. But if you wanted to promote your campaign and you couldn't come on the show, you could do this.
Are you sitting at home wondering how you're going to spread the word about that Comic-Con that you're about to appear at, and you want to get some press? How about your first book signing? How do you spread the word so you can get an audience there? Or that first panel at a Comic-Con? Who do you talk to? Or even your first crowdfunding on Kickstarter or Indiegogo? The world is turning to podcasting to get the word out. Why not you? Sponsor an episode of Catch the Craze and start promoting yourself today.
Yeah, so we've had several sponsors who were very successful with their campaign. So give it a shot. Hit the link in the summary and head over to our page. They're very affordable, easy way for you to promote your stuff to the audience you're trying to reach. So I see that April is in the waiting room, and we're going to bring it in right now. Hello there.
Well, hello.
How are you?
I am good. I'm excited to be here.
All right. Well, welcome to the Craze.
Woohoo. Excellent. Sounds like I'm definitely in the right place.
Yeah, there you go. Yes. So before we even go into your campaign, we always want to know about the creator because that's what we're primarily about. And
no problem talking about myself.
Yes, good. So yes, I was reading your background and your education, and you have a fantastic background. But let's go a little further. Were you born in Texas?
No.
Okay, so
I was actually born in Illinois, on the corner of one cornfield and soybean field. That's where you can find my origin story,
nice.
Which is weird because that's where I started doing color separations for DC Comics. So I don't know how that happened. That was weird. So yeah, that was like my second job. And then I moved to Arizona where I actually got my bachelor's in fine arts. And then about 3 years ago, we moved here to Texas because my husband got a job that he just couldn't refuse.
That's the way it always happens.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So because of that, I've been able to do it full time.
Yeah. So you went fast forward. So what were you into as a kid?
Art. We lived literally 7 miles out of what was considered a town. Mm-hmm. And I had me, myself, and my brother, which was not a huge amount of help. But I liked, going for bike rides and drawing. And we did like vacations and stuff where, on these long road trips, I would still be drawing. Every Friday after school, there was a mother and daughter team who would do art lessons outside of, the school premises. And I got to do piano lessons. So I was taking college level piano lessons as a junior in high school.
Wow, fantastic. So when did you realize you liked to draw?
At 4 years of age, my parents had me enrolled in that art class.
Wow.
But I don't know. My older cousins was doing it. Right. That doesn't sound like grammatically correct, but nonetheless, my older cousins were already into art, and they took kids barely our age at that time, and it was perfect. And even if it was just learning how to color and then learning how to do big shapes and then It was all about like referencing photos.
Right.
So it wasn't like we were having to do full blown creature creation at age 4.
Right. Right.
I mean, we kept it relevant. But yeah, it was awesome. Like that was the origin. Like the town that I grew up in had like 2,500 people in it. It was small.
Wow.
My graduating class at ASU was well beyond that. It was an eye-opening experience to move from such a small town into, what is it, like the 6th largest city in the United States or some shit? I don't know. Am I allowed to swear? I swear like a sailor.
I have a mature audience sign on the screen.
Okay. Because if I need to tone it down, all you have to be like, whoa.
Yes. So talk about that. Your parents, they said we're gonna move. You go to a big location.
Oh no.
Oh, you just went off to school.
This was
on your
me
own.
being like, 20 years old, going, I'm ready for the world with my big girl panties on and everything.
So what was that first day like?
Bullshit is what it was. The Greyhound bus totally like dropped me off at my stop without my clothes. So I had to job interview literally an hour before, like 2 days later, was like, can I please get some clean underwear? This would be great. Oh my God. And like, oh, well, yes, we do have your luggage. I'm like, well, okay. So yeah, like it was outrageous. I go for my tour at ASU to kind of like figure out, I'm going to be a new student here. I guess I better go like do a tour, right? They take my photo for my student ID. Oh my gosh, it was enough to rival the DMV. It was the worst photo I've ever taken in my fucking life. I mean, I had like growth, and so I had like bleach blonde hair that I had like bleached myself, so it looked hot. Like the growth. And then this like 10-yard stare, like, what? And that's the photo that they took. And they're like, well, for like $10 more, like we could retake it. I'm like, no, this will haunt me for the rest of my life. This will give me cannon fodder for whenever I do decide that I need therapy. I don't know, whatever, we go with it.
So what did you lean on to navigate in this new environment where you don't know anybody?
Oh, this is all part of my charm. I didn't want to do art because that was my hobby, and who wants to make their hobby their job? So I mean, I was this close to evil scientist. Wow. This close. Yeah, I was like astrophysicist. Sounds real good, until you live in an area that has light pollution and you don't physically own a telescope. I don't know, whatever, it's fine. But it was really fascinating taking like physics classes, and I would have done it too if it hadn't been for calculus 2, man. That wiped the floor with me. But let me tell you, I can help my daughter with her like algebra and geometry homework.
There you go.
Yeah.
You got one over most of the population.
Dude, I tell you what, it's something.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when were you introduced to comics, and what was the first thing you've ever read?
Oh, okay. So my first introduction to comics was after I'd already been hired by Heroic Age Studios. It's different. It's a little different. I came at it like literally jumped into like the deep end of the pool and was like, oh my God, I guess I'm having to swim now. It's fine. Nice. No, actually, I guess we would go to like a lot of like used bookstores and stuff, mm-hmm. and I would every once in a while stumble across a random, like seriously random comic. You can't follow a storyline with that, and that didn't really like light the fire in my belly, right? So the origin story quite literally is a friend of mine in high school handed me this coloring packet. It was like, here's the address, turn it in. I'm not going to need it. I'm going into the Marines. I'm like, okay, I like to color. Yeah. And so I literally colored it. And this is in 1999, right? Like the internet is a new thing. And MapQuest is awesome, except you don't have it tell you over the phone. So after cycling around like a buzzard like 3 or 4 times, I finally found this fucking place. It was like a gutted apartment complex in the middle of nowhere in Mount Zion, Illinois. And I was like, whoa, what is this even? Like, you park the car, you walk in, you're like, hello? Am I in the right place? It's so weird because it looks like an apartment building.
Wow.
And you're like worried about trespassing into somebody's house, right? Anyway, now I was in the right place. But they had basically gutted all these apartments and turned it into like mini studios. And they kind of like looked over my packet, gave me some pointers, handed me another one, and then took me for a tour of what they did. You have your penciler, you have your inker, you have your colorist, right? Then they send those colors, which are essentially like Xerox line arts, you know, that you'd find in a coloring book, right? That somebody would color in. And we took those indicators, the Superman's baby blues and his red of his cape and the yellow of his logo, and would plug it in through Photoshop so that it would be print ready for mass production. And that's what color separations do. So I got to literally like see, I don't know, the comps that they would send or something just laying around the printer. And I really didn't get that fire in my belly until probably a month right before that, when my best friend, Missy, gave me Witchblade #1, which changed my life. And J. Scott Campbell's Roxy, the Super Dream Team. It was the parody that they did for like Sailor Moon for Roxy. Yeah, from Gen 13. It was pretty awesome. Honestly, because of that experience, I totally went and found those and bought them. And I could not believe the sticker shock that it was for those particular books. So, and I'll tell you what, I've had Mark Silvestri and Michael Turner sign my Witchblade #1. So I'm hanging on to that until the day I die. In fact,
outstanding.
I think that's probably going to go in the casket with me.
Nice.
And they made it through a fire.
Wow.
Oh yeah. I like roll up in there at like 2 a.m. and there is like fire trucks and police. And I'm like, oh, I have not been home for 2 days. What's going on here? And I'm all of like 19, right? Yeah, like apartment complex, group of four. This group of 4 caught on fire. I live in this group of 4, and they busted in my apartment to fight the fire. Wow. And I'm like, oh my God. And ironically, literally that weekend before, just days before, I had just gone through and bag and boarded all of my comics, and the hunky firefighters were digging through all of this insulation material, sopping wet, pulling my comics out. I'm like, you guys are amazing, thank you. Yeah. Oh.
That's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
That is amazing. So yeah, so then you went on to work for a lot of different companies. And what was that experience like? And you know, you've trading cards, you've done cover art, you've done everything.
It is an eye-opening experience to take your portfolio to somebody and go, excuse me, sir, I know that you're super busy and you probably get this all the time, but could you please take a look at my measly piece of work and see if you could give me some pointers? And they're like, oh God, you're one of those people. And I'm like, yes, but I went to art school, damn it, I'm ready. And I grab my pad of paper and I'm just like, I literally get down on my knees and I'm eye level and I'm like absorbing this information. They're like, oh my God, you're serious? I'm like, yeah, I lay it in. Like, but oh, nice. Sure. Yeah, well, I mean, you got to, right? Yes, if you don't hear the bad stuff, you'll never get to the good stuff, right?
Right.
Like, because you're constantly going to think, oh, I'm good enough. Oh, I'm good enough.
Yes.
Like, shit, no, you're not. this is why. I'm like, yeah. And then you work on it and you come back like 2 years later, you'd be like, hey, remember me? Like, oh Jesus, how could I forget? So
Yes, it's always. I mean, it takes a lot of courage because you have
It
to get past your personal ego and also those fears, the head junk. Because I think what happens is what stumps a lot of artists is that they psych themselves out.
yeah,
You know,
easy to do.
I know that it took me forever to go and approach somebody. Just look at my. I was standing in line and like I'm like the third one in, and I'm like, I can't do it.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't really want to do that at a con because that's when you're working
Right.
and you can't really do two things at once,
Right.
right? And so I waited until until a comic store signing for the Zenescope team or something. And who did I ask? Who was my very first portfolio review with? Evas.
Nice.
And I'm like, dude, if you get time, would you be willing? And he's like, not here. I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. And he's like, no. Here, just call me later. We'll set something up and we'll definitely do this. And I'm like, okay, I've never waited by a phone for a man ever. Like I just never have. But by like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, it's like, he's never going to call me back. It's fine. And then of course he does. And he's like, yeah, come on over. We'll do this. I just woke up. I'm so sorry it's so late. I'm like, oh, I know, it's fine. It's fine. I literally, I barely remember to grab shoes. And I rush and I grab like the top folio and I'm out the car door. I'm like, love you, honey, bye. And he's like, where are you going? I'm like, I'll call you later. Yeah, it was outrageous. Obviously, my husband knows that I love him. But I got all the way over from Mesa to Glendale. That's like a good hour's drive. And
Wow.
I pull up into the driveway and realized I didn't grab my sequentials. I grabbed my pinups, which I know are inferior. I'm like, fuck.
Wow.
But he still talked to me about for 2 hours. He still talked to me about importance of framing and importance of sometimes you got to draw entire 5 panels of people talking over waffles. Like sometimes you just have to go through that in order to do this, what's proper for the story. It's not all splash pages. And then he was like, so what do you want to be when you're, more experienced in art? What do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know. I just want to draw. And he's like, yeah, you got to refine that a little bit. I'm like, okay. He's like, penciler, inker, colorist, letterer. What do you want to do?
Right.
I'm like, I don't know. He's like, okay, well, you got to think about that. And he just like politely stared at me for like several minutes. And honestly, like once I did some soul searching, I'm like, I really would like to do interiors. I think that you have to be a well-rounded artist. You have to be able to draw a cup as well as a plant, as well as an interior of a room, as well as the human form, as well as a dog or a cat. Like you have to be able to do these things in order to be a good interior artist. And that's what I told him. I was like, I think to be a well-rounded artist, I would want to do interiors. And so he's like, okay, let's talk about this. He's like, draw me a walk cycle. I'm like, okay. That's a whole nother drama right there. But essentially
that's invaluable.
But because of him taking that time and energy, it really helped me kind of define more about what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go. And I just happened to have really amazing friends along the way who sprinkle in the crazy, like Bianca Thompson's like, hey, Dynamite needs some sketch card artists. So I do that a little bit. And I'm like, oh God, that's kind of hard. I'm not even gonna lie. You're given like a month or two to draw 200 cards of Red Sonja. Like, so I have to admit now I'm more consistent with like, drawing, Red Sonja or whatever. Right.
And which leads me into your campaign. I think it was a unique approach to campaign. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. So tell us about Kinktober. I'm going to pull this up. I have your Kickstarter on the screen as we're talking. So you got 5 days left, 55 backers. You've made your goal. Yeah, 3696. So where did the idea spawn from? Start there.
Yep. So there was that whole fallout from Inktober like 2-3 years ago or something. People can look that up. I don't have all the details. All I know is it was kind of a shady thing to do to copyright something that universally everybody was enjoying.
Right.
Moving on from that, I was all set to do it and was like, oh man, lame. And then a friend of mine's like, well, there's an alternative. And I'm like, oh. And he's like, well, you wouldn't be interested in that. I mean, you are a mom or whatever. And I'm like, wait a minute. Now I come from farm town where like anything you can do, I can do better kind of thing. Like that whole
right.
80s, whatever mentality.
Right.
So I was just like, what do you mean? And I kind of got my competitive hackles up a little bit. I'm like, well, duh, send me the list. I bet, bottom dollar that I can do this and it's going to be awesome. And he sent it to me. It was Kinktober. I'm like, oh goodness. And I look up some of this stuff because I don't know what half the list is. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I can't even tell you how many viruses I probably downloaded onto my phone. But it wound up being pretty amazing. So not this October, but the previous October, I got to do volume 1. Now, I guess I should backtrack a little bit. Now, in August, I had worked on anatomy. There was a personal trainer or something on Instagram that would post pictures. And I asked him, I know this is very weird. I would hate to like overstep bounds, but would you allow me to use the images that you've posted so that I can work on male anatomy? Because I'm not that proficient at it, but I want to be. I just don't like life drawing books. They look staged and void of fun. And so he was like, yeah, no, that's cool. So I started doing these anatomy studies where you peel back the skin, you start doing the muscle layovers and the benching in the arms, the legs, the abs. Oh man, I'll tell you what, steamy. Anyway, so then when Justin Miller gave me the Kinktober list, I was like, you know what? I don't get asked to draw men enough. This would be a great way to incorporate not only overlapping shape and passion and expression and tinker around with, non-copyrighted characters, but I could work men into this equation and it'll still be valid work, It's hard in a sea of Wolverines having a piece stand out, right? Because I don't draw Wolverine that often, right? So anyway, I had taken this to heart. I was like, yeah, I'm doing these sketches. Everybody is really liking them, even if it's secret DMs like, hey, your stuff's really like cool. You are going to put this in a book, right? You are going to put this in a book, right? And I'm like, oh, I hadn't thought about it. I mean, honestly, I was just doing this for fun. And over the last couple of years, I've had several creators reach out to me and ask me, are you doing crowdfunding? Are you doing Indiegogo or Kickstarter? And like, you get that, what do they call that? That earworm or something, where it just kind of roots around for a while. You have enough people that start asking you to put these sketches into a sketchbook. And I was like, okay. If there was ever an opportunity to do this, let's just walk ourselves to the brink. So I build out the written part of the campaign, and I put a projected start date. I don't know. I think it was at like October 31st, like once the thing would be done, right? To start at blah, blah, blah. And then if you want to advertise your campaign, there was a little button. I didn't accidentally click the button. I clicked that button, but what I thought was going to give me a link to share out to notify actually launched the thing.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh my God, everybody told me it's going to take like 3 days to 3 weeks to get it launched. And it activated the second that I was still building it out. I didn't even have pictures and people were already starting to pledge to it.
Wow.
I know. I was like, oh my God, what do I do? And so a couple of friends are like texting or messaging me like, hey, are you going to add some images? I mean, obviously we're pledging, but still I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how. And they like literally walked me through it while I'm at the playground, letting my daughter go play. And I was just like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
It was a rush though. It was a rush.
I can imagine.
Oh my goodness. Like I've never done a Kickstarter campaign before. Certainly never this content. And I felt an immense amount of pride from day one sketch to, I think it launched like I'm on the 20th or something. So I had like 3 weeks worth of content to reflect back and go, wow, these are actually pretty legit. Like they do look professional. They do look good. They're highly rendered. There's, yeah, okay. So then it just became a mad rush to get them finished and then off to the printers. And it was easy, and it was like I said, it was a rush. I had never experienced anything like it before, and I was down to do it again. I was like, oh God, woo, all right.
There you go. And obviously it's a success. So we have approximately about 4 minutes left.
Oh,
give us the before you even came on, I was going through your Kickstarter as well, but so they get a double whammy, one when you on and one the pre-show. But yeah. I could give us the pitch, give us the elevator pitch.
Okay, well, this is an art book. I can guarantee that I've got like 50 pages worth of content for this price.
I'm scrolling as you're talking.
Yes, yeah. And it's beautifully rendered art. It is encompassing of all forms of love, whether it be, male, female, 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 or male, male, or has even a few alters to it as well. I've got some
Three's Company.
Well, yes, there is that too. But I was thinking more like it's got like transvestites and dwarves and centaurs, and I would like to think that the House of April is all encompassing and everybody is seen.
And everybody is seen.
Beautifully rendered, 52 pages of
that expanded because color. It started with 31 pages.
Well, it was guaranteed to be 31 pages. Okay. But I open up the list for pre-orders, and if given enough notice, I can do multiples of certain days. And so I will always go forward, but never backwards. So if you caught me like on the 27th, you were allowed the 27th through the 31st, but nothing before that. And that's why we wind up getting back end heavy on multiples, which is not necessarily a bad thing. If I don't do it that way, October never ends for me. And then this no longer becomes very special, which is only once a year do I draw this type of content. I will do commissions and such, but for this type of racy art, you have to catch me on the October campaigns. So if you want to reach out next October, keep a lookout for it. Otherwise, pledge and get a remark if you don't want to get a full blank. If you do want to get a full blank, know that they are just as detailed and beautiful. The cover stock that I get from my print company can handle absolutely everything that I have thrown at it. It has handled ink, it has handled ink wash, it has handled Copics, airbrush, colored pencils, all of it. And no bleed through. It does not mar the art on the inside jacket whatsoever. It's fantastic. I promise you'll love it. I feel like basically it's $100. I feel like sometimes that can be really expensive and you don't know if you're going to get art that you like. I would like to think that I can guarantee the art. I would like to think that if you are not satisfied with it, that I can redo it and sell what I did for you to someone else. The only time that I won't be able to do that is if you are wanting personal pictures of you and your spouse put onto that. at that point, that's not going to be a sellable option.
Right.
But if you're wanting copyrighted characters, if you're wanting a particular kink that wasn't offered during the Kinktober campaign, these are the great opportunities to hit me up with those special requests, because there's only like 3 things that I won't draw, and they have not been asked by or asked for yet. So
outstanding.
The most relevant one would be My Little Pony. I don't do erotic My Little Pony. Like, that's the only one that could probably be like, oh shucks. Like, yeah, we don't cross that stream, because My Little Pony is dear and special to my heart.
Outstanding. Well, thank you for coming on the show, guys. The link is in the summary. Just hit that link. Head over to Kinktober on Kickstarter. There's 5 days left. Get your collection of adult illustrations.
And I'm also on Instagram under Reyna_art, and I have a fan page on Facebook under Reyna Art, Reyna. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you going through my campaign and letting me talk about myself. It was a pleasure.
Outstanding. You're always welcome back. And congratulations again on another successful campaign.
Thank you.
You got it. Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too. All right, guys. So that is this episode of Catch the Craze. That was April Reyna, and join me in 5 minutes, because I'll be back with another guest. We'll be talking to the creator of Planet Jane, David Wilburn, who is killing it on Kickstarter. I'm Sam the Crazy Man Vera, and I'll catch you in 5 minutes.
It's just easy. It's not.
Crazy.
Acquiesce.
No, I was talking about my friend Acquiesce. I met him.
Say my name, right? This is what you were thinking? Oh, my.
He described me. He said, I'm the idiot.
What? Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze. To Catch the Craze. You are listening to Catch the Craze. Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze.